Hi, and welcome back. This is the scene we're going to work on today. This is my start point. And here is the end point. Okay, now I select a frame to start drawing on it. Good. Now I check the animation, like this tree here. I mask it now. Add a stroke to it. Then add the fill and set its color. I change the stroke size. Round the strokes. Then add dash. Set the dash like this. Very good. Now duplicate it. Then move it down to here. Reduce the opacity. And put it here. Duplicate it again. Go to Transform tab and move it down like this. Set the shapes to be exactly like the video itself. Make the dash distance a little bit shorter. Good. Move to the next one now. Increase the size and remove its dash. Now move their layers this way. The overall shape of the tree is done. All is left is these lines in the middle. So start drawing them. This line doesn't have a fill color. Go to a stroke and round them. Open the opacity and check it out. So far so good. Let's move on to the next line. Duplicate it and move it up. Put it here and resize it. Reduce the opacity and set it exactly like the video. Move the points. The tree is now finished. All that's left is these lines under it. I call them floor lines. Go to strokes and then round them. Add a few more dashes. Reduce the main layer's opacity to check the results. Duplicate this layer. Move this one here and remove its dash. Now move the dash line here too. Now increase the layer's opacity back to normal. We have another tree on the right side. Set a name for the tree layer and then duplicate it. Then move it here. Now we need a rectangular shape for this part. Draw the shape and set its color. Press Ctrl X and make a new layer and then press Ctrl V and give it a name. Good. Again set its fill color. Find the shape and move it here. Then use the motion tools to set its anchor point. Now decrease its opacity to something like 10. From the Content and Strokes tab, round all the caps and joints. Good. Now we need these vertical lines on the fence. Make a group. Name it line. Move the line to the group and then add a repeater to it. We have 6 copies here. Then go into the Transform tab and reduce this parameter. If we increase the opacity now, you can see that the lines are repeated. I changed the repeat to 7. Using the Transform tab, you can adjust the distance between them. Very good. Now, let's add some more lines. One is here. Round its strokes. Duplicate it. Move it up here. Adjust its position. Now duplicate it again. Move this one here. Increase the opacity to check the results. Very good. Move the fence layer above the tree 2 layer and then let's get started on the house. I hide these layers for now. The house is made using rectangles, but first let's check its animation. Upper and lower parts are connected, and then there is a middle part that pops up. Also, those window shades are moving too. Alright, let's get started on it. Usually, a designer works alongside with the animators, but if you're alone, you can do the design by yourself. Round the caps and lines and change the fill color on this one. Give it a name, like Basic Bottom. Go inside it and start drawing some other rectangles too. One here. Set its fill color. Make a new group. Give it a name. Put the rectangle inside it and then add repeater to it. Since we need to only repeat this rectangle, we need a group for them. If you add the repeater to pass, for example, it will repeat every shape. Now increase the opacity to check our results. If you want to adjust the repeater, go inside the bricks group. Open the repeater and in Transform tab, reduce this to 0 and then increase this one. I will reduce their X position and use Y position to move them vertically. Then go to rectangle and then a stroke and then round this as well. Now duplicate the bricks group. Go inside this Transform tab and move it to the right. Inside it, we only have one rectangle which is repeated 2 times. Very good. We can do the same for the windows in the center. But I'll do that in another way. I draw a new rectangle. Open it and change its name to Window. Set its color. Then, using the pen tool, I will draw a line on it. Remove the line's fill color. Then go inside the fence layer. Copy the group using Ctrl+C. Paste it inside the Content tab of the window. Increase its opacity a little. Open it and then name this layer Repeater Line. Go to Transform and move it like this. Adjust it by moving this point upwards. Now go inside the Repeater's Transform tab. Adjust the line's distance. If you remember, we used many of the shape modifiers in our previous lesson. Modifiers like zigzag, merge paths, and etc. Some of them are left that we will work on them on the future lessons. Alright, let's continue. We are finished on the windows. Now group these three layers. I call this group window. Now move the repeater line, shape, and window inside it. Done. Let's go and make the door. First, I draw a rectangle. Reduce its opacity. Cut this layer, make a new group and call it door. Paste the shape inside it. Do the basic editing like setting its color. Then we have another rectangle inside it, so let's draw it. Okay. Round the strokes. I call this basic. And this one is window. We also have this line in the middle, so let's draw it. You can name it Windows line. Let's add fill color to the window now. Also, the line shouldn't have any fill color. Go here and add some points like this. Remove its fill and add a color to its stroke. Okay. Put it inside the door layer. Next, increase the opacity to check out our work. So far so good. Now, let's add its corners. Next, move these points up a bit to match it better. Good. Now, open the basic layer and round its strokes. You can add a fill color if you want to. Use the eyedropper tool to catch the correct color and use it. If you wanted to use the color that is inside the original shape, first reduce the opacity, then open the video layer and using eyedropper tool, catch its color, and then open the shape layer you made and choose the color stored in the eyedropper tool. Okay, everything looks good now. Let's check it out. Collapse the layers you don't need and open the house layer's opacity. Okay, the door is finished too. Let's move on to the stairs. First, I draw a rectangle. Name it a step. Next, set its fill color. Duplicate it. Give it a different name. Move it down and increase its scale. We need to adjust it a bit. First, move its anchor point to its center. Now round the strokes. Do the same for the other step layer too. And our staircase is now finished. Let's move on to the open sign. Go inside content and make a new rectangle. Set a color for its fill and strokes, and then use that polka dot texture we used before. Add it on top. Scale it down a bit. cut it and then paste it in a new shape. I call this open. Reduce its opacity. Scale it until you get the desired result. Now we mask it. Draw a mask over it. Increase its opacity. Then use Shift and plus buttons to change its color. Check the video and then match its color. We can simply reduce its opacity. Now for the open text. Reduce the text size. Put it over the sign layer. Use a similar font for it. Reduce the letter distance and set its color. If you don't have the same font as the video, it's okay. Select the layer and use this color on the characters. Alright, an open sign is done too. Let's fix the stroke color, remove it, and again using the eyedropper tool, select the same color as our source video. Also, round its cap and joins. Pre-comp these layers and call them open. Then go inside it. Select this part and crop it. We do this because we need to animate it later. Okay, now everything is in place. Copy and paste the line repeater in the window layer to here. Adjust its points. Go inside the repeater transform options and reduce this to 0. Increase the opacity. Change this to 3. Then zero out the offset. I think -2 is enough. Then round the strokes. Also change this one to 6. Now zero its opacity to set its color. Catch the color and change the stroke. Okay. Let's move to the next one. Select the rectangle tool and set its color like this. Open its Transform tab and set its position to here. Okay, now I draw another line over on this one. Let's increase the opacity to check our results. Their color is black. Also, let's not forget to round the lines. So round both joints and caps. Now for the other line, change the stroke color and then round it. Now set its size to 4. We must set its position now. Move it up a bit. And done! The design of this part is finished. This sign seems a bit pale. Why is that? Capture this color from character menu and go inside the sign print comp and use this color on the rectangle. It's much better now. Alright, let's move to the upper part of the building. Create a new shape layer. I just realized that the staircase color should be black, so let's fix it. We call this layer step. Find it and change the color. Also, I think they could be thinner, so I changed the size to 6 for both of them. Good, let's continue. Let's remake the pop sign. First, I draw a rectangle. Add the opacity. Set its fill color. Then the stroke color. Now we need a few dots. You can use the same texture we had or draw them by yourself. I try to draw them. They don't need a stroke. Also, its fill color should be white. Add this to a group. Now add repeater to our group. Increase the opacity to see everything better. Now move it like this. We need 4 dots in here. Give a name to this group. Duplicate the repeater and go inside this transform. Now duplicate these 2 repeaters and move them to the other side. Move this one down a bit. Now copy the text from open sign and paste it here. Position it correctly and type the new text. Increase its size. I want to reduce the opacity of our text layer. Then I will find its color. Now set its opacity as before. Pre-comp the contents of the middle sign and give it a proper name. Then go inside the new pre-comp and crop it. Select this layer and copy it. Then make a new shape layer and paste it inside that. Now go inside this content and move it up here. Use the Move tool and click on it. First, set its anchor point to the center of the shape. The lamps on the sign are made using a rectangle and a repeater. And their light shaft is made using a fill color with lower opacity. Now, let's move forward. For the upper part of the building, we need another rectangle. Use the correct color for it. Then convert the rectangle into Bezier paths. Add a point on its path and move the points upwards. Now reduce the opacity. Let's continue to the windows. Set the fill color and this line in the middle with no fill and only a stroke. Now let's increase the opacity and check out our results. The lines also need to be rounded. Very good. Let's make a new group for the window parts. Put the group here and move the rectangles inside it. Give a name to the group. I reduce the opacity. I want to make the center line more accurate, so I move it to the left a little. Okay, here's our first window. For the next one, I duplicate it a bunch of times and move it to their positions. The base of the large window is the same, so let's duplicate it again and move it down. Then go inside it to change its points and shape. Move its top point to here. Set the anchor point. Then move the point to here. Give a name to it. Duplicate it and move it here. But before that, let's draw the other line on the window. Now duplicate it again. Don't forget to put the line layer inside the big window layer. Now duplicate and move it here. Duplicate it again for the third window. Leave the textures for now. Let's move on to the fence behind the building. Always try to keep your work organized. I will duplicate the fence we had before and move its layer to here. Now move the shape itself. Open it. Set its anchor point. Convert it to Bezier path. Set its anchor point to here and then move it to the left. We converted the shape to path, so we can move its points instead of scaling it. Good. Now go inside the repeater and increase its number to something like 14. Move it to the right position and increase its number again if you need to. Reduce the opacity for now. Go inside the repeater of the fence layer. First, start moving the line. When it's in the position, use offset to move it. Then reduce the gap between the lines in the Transform tab. Now increase the number to 32. Offset them. 32 is too much, so I use 27 instead. Reduce the number of repeats until you get the best results. Increase its opacity again and set its fill color. Also, you can delete the unwanted shapes inside it. And done! We finished designing this scene. Now, let's focus on the animation. But before that, let's check the entire design and fix any problems that we might have. I have forgotten to increase the upper part opacity. Then open the Up Home layer and move this above every other layer. There is an artifact on the big window's upper part. I delete the other two windows. The stroke on the upper part is bigger than the rest of it. Open the Rectangle Tree Transform tab and set both of its transforms to 100. Then convert it to paths and move its points. Also, move this line layer up. And done. Now duplicate it and move it here. Very good. Let's move to the animation now. First of all, the building is underground and then moves up and has a small bounce. We need to parent the layers correctly. I parent the backup home, up home, and open layers to home layer. Also, don't forget about the middle one. For now, leave the rest. Let's start animating the home layer. After 10 frames, move it down like this. Alright, this is our final pose. If all the action takes about 15 frames, after 5 frames it will be here, so I will copy and paste this keyframe. Move the building up on this keyframe. Easy, easy. Then open the Basic tab of the Home layer. Convert the rectangle and move it down like this. Check out the result. We have a problem here. The building is moving more than we need it to. It's because the interpolation. Set the interpolation on this keyframe to linear. It's on Auto Bezier mode right now. The motion is correct. We can achieve the same results using the Convert Vertex tool. Now the building moves up and down. In order to hide the part we don't need, we can do many things. First, we can pre-comp all the layers in this part and then alpha invert them to a mask. The other way is to use a solid layer. One of the blend mode options hides everything under it. This way, we don't have to use alpha and masks. We can move the solid here and then put the floor line over it to make it look better. For its blend mode, choose the Silhouette Alpha. This blend mode will set everything under it to alpha. Duplicate the home layer. Delete these two. And in here, delete everything except these two. I call them steps and move them here. We're gonna animate them separately, so there is no need for them to move with the building. The steps are animated in here. Open them. This is the staircase animation. The moment that the building hits the ground, the stairs comes out. The fence starts from here, so add a keyframe to its position. Animation starts fast and then slows down. Hide this, move 10 frames forward and then move the fence like this. Then use ease in for the motion. I think it's too fast, so I will increase the motion length to 25 frames. Now it looks good. Let's continue to the next part. The trees are animated from below and have some excite on them. Hide the background. The tree animation starts from this point. I add trim pass to this shape. I put the start point here. It's 100, and as we move forward, it turns to 0. Now on this point, I copy the trim pass and paste it here so they are both animated together. Let's move to the circles. Make sure the anchor point is set to their center. Now we just have to scale them. In the previous lesson, we learned that we can add excite to the scale parameter of a shape. Set the keyframes and then add excite in the end. Now go to the effect control and open the excite of the scale. It's these three tabs. Open them and change their numbers to 10, 20, and 40 respectively. The stroke thickness doesn't change when the circle is being scaled. The only way we can achieve this look is to turn the stroke into points and then animate them all by hand. Let me show you. First, I remove all the animations we made on this one. Hide the background. We can animate it using its size, but then the dash line will change. Let's remove the dash line and then use trim pass instead. And here it is. Alright, the animation starts at this point. The size is 105 and then is 0 in here. Then add excite to it. I changed this to 10 and 20. It looks really good. Now I can save the size and the excite as a preset. I call it Tree Animate. Now go to the second ellipse and open its path. Remove the dash and add trim pass instead. Set the endpoint. Then click on size and add the preset we just made. And now they are both animated perfectly. All that's left is to change the ellipse size to 100. Now for the third one. It doesn't have any dash on it. Open it and select the size and then add the preset again. The trees are animated from below. Press U so we can start adjusting the timing of the animation. Check it out. I forgot to set the middle ellipse size. Change the first keyframe to 0. We need to adjust the length of the animation. Very well. Just move this forward so the line starts animating after the ellipses. And we are finished with the trees. Delete the other tree, then duplicate this one and move it to the right. Move it here and put its layer under the fence. Then offset this animation to make it look more random. Let's get rid of this dot in here. Cut the layer at this point. Good. Now let's move to the staircase animation. When the building's motion is done, the steps animation is starting. Add the keyframes to here. Ease in the keyframe. It seems like the step is being scaled in Y position, but the values are the same. This problem happens when we use ease in on it. But if we use easy ease, nothing will happen. Copy the animation on the other step as well. Good. Now just offset the animation on the second step. We have a slight excite on the building's upper part. It moves up and then down. We need to ease the motion when it's going down, so press U and then easy ease this keyframe. Now for the up home layer. At this frame, add a keyframe to it and then put it here. After 15 frames, move it to this original position. Add excite, and as before, change the values to 10 and 20, so it doesn't move that much. Now, shorten the animation's length. I changed the overshoot to 20. The excite is still too low, so set the overshoot to 30. Now it's much better. Open the text layer and add a keyframe to its position. And in 10 frames, move it down like this. Then add the excite to it with the same values as before. Now check the results. The excite is too much and is causing the text to bounce. Open it and change the bounce value to 20. Offset the text animation so it starts after the upper home. Perfect. Increase the back home opacity to see if it has any animations. The open sign has excite and is animated using its rotation. Go inside the open sign layer. Move its anchor point up here and add keyframes to its rotation. Then move it to its original position and add Excite on top of it. It bounces too much, so I changed the bounce and overshoot to 30. Much better. Good, so what's next? Let's move to the shades on the windows. Check the original animation. It's very simple. First, I make a rectangle. Draw the rectangle, add the stroke and set its color. Then add repeater. Go inside the repeater transform and move it in the Y direction. Good. Let's reduce the stroke size and then round it. Now let's move the copies upward. Check if the size and numbers are correct. Now move the up home layer over on this layer. Delete everything except the big window tree. Give a name to the shades layer. Set its alpha mode. Then move it down like this. Our main shape shouldn't have any strokes. We set the shades alpha to the big window. This is the window. Since the window had a stroke, we couldn't see the stroke in the alpha mode. Thus, we could see the shades over the stroke. So, by removing the stroke of the window, the stroke of the alpha matte was removed, and we could only see it in the blue part. Delete everything unnecessary. Make sure you parent the shades and then let's get to animating it. Check the original video for the animation's reference. When the shades are opening, we have a small bounce. Open the position and add keyframes. The layer must be parented to upper home 2 layer. Upper home 2 has its own position keyframes, and by parenting it, the shade will move with the upper home 2 layer and has its own movement as well. Set the next keyframe and add Excite to it. Let's check the results. The Excite is short and too fast. I set the bouncing to 20 and overshoot to 40. One more thing, in order for your animation to be correct, go to the frame that you know the animation is correct and then do the parenting. For example, here I parent the back home to the up home. This way you can make sure the animation will be correct. Most of the elements are done now. We have another set of shades in the upper right window. Duplicate this. Press U. Move the shades layer to the right position. Then move the shade itself down a bit. Open it and from Content tab, open the big window. Now change the path of this rectangle like this. Check the results. It moves too much. To fix it, move the shades to have them half open. On this frame, they are here. And on the next one, move them down like this. Very good. Now change its timing so they look more random.